All right, Alec, how's it going?
It's cold. It's cold on the mountain
Well,
tonight.
the cold never bothered me anyway.
Yeah, that's
So
true. Actually,
we're
I mean, it
we're
does bother me sometimes.
we're going
I gotta be
into
honest.
uncharted territory, into the unknown with Frozen
Yeah,
2. Never talked about
it's
the long history Frozen franchise yet on this channel.
the long history. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, cat.
So maybe we should start out with
So,
what were your thoughts on Frozen, the first?
so, so, okay. This is one of my favorite anecdotes, like about seeing movies. I went and saw Frozen. I was a senior in college. I went back to school early, like I think it was like a week and a half early for I was in the Mikado, which is a Gilbert and Sullivan musical. So I was in the
Of
school's
course.
production of that. So I had to go back early for rehearsals, and we got done kind of early one night, and I don't really remember like what exactly. I remember I was thinking I was like I'm gonna go see Frozen at some point, I guess, or something. And I was just sort of like I want to go see it. It's a Disney movie. It's still in theaters around here, so sure. This is like 6 weeks after the movie came out, maybe 7 weeks after the movie came out. It's in the beginning of January. The movie's been out since towards the end of November, and all I had heard about it was someone said, "Yeah, I saw it. It was pretty good. I really liked it." I go into the theater, and this is like a large theater, one of the larger theaters I've ever been to. This theater was packed. Like there were seats, but there weren't many seats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, there's a lot of people. I don't remember what day of the week it was either. I feel like it was in the middle of the week, but it could have been a weekend. I don't really remember. But I was just like, wow, there's a lot of people here. I was like, that's kind of surprising. Like this movie's been out for a while. You'd think people had gone and seen it already.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
The hype has not died down yet.
and the height, I was like, wow, that's really impressive. And then I saw the movie, and I understood why. Because it was really good.
All right.
I was so super impressed with it. I mean, I was just like, oh man, this must be like a Radio Disney hit or something. Because like there were a couple teenage girls. I had to sit in the front. Normally, I like sitting kind of in the middle, maybe kind of close to the front, but more in the middle front. But for this, I had to sit like it was like the second or third row I had to sit in because there just wasn't really that much room behind me.
Okay.
And and yeah, there was like teenage girls sitting in front of me, and they were like singing the song. They didn't sing very much of it. They only sang part of the songs. Hello, Cattail.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I was just blown away. I like how good the movie was. I remember the Let It Go sequence, which Let It Go is obviously now like reached complete global saturation. To
Saturation,
quote
yes.
to complete Resident Evil 5, to quote Resident Evil 5, it is has complete global saturation. Um, but at that point, like that was brand new territory for me, and I was stunned. I mean, I still am in awe of that animated sequence. I love that whole sequence. It's great.
Oh, it's such a good
And
song.
it's a great song. It really is a great song. And yeah, I loved that movie. So I took a friend to see it because he hadn't seen it yet either. Like maybe a week or week and a half later.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I went and saw it again.
All
All right.
right.
Yeah, it's enough. That's it. Is enough. Enough. You off my lap. Off my lap. Sorry, bud. But yeah, and then on campus there was they showed it again when it came out on Blu-ray. So there was like a campus event where they showed it, and that packed the whole house too. There was a whole auditorium at school that was just completely full, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I really love the movie. I didn't thankfully have young girls in my life very much.
Okay.
My nieces all live down in Virginia, so I don't have to worry about hearing that song all the time. And I didn't. So because of that, I'm kind of like the Napoleon Dynamite example I've used in different videos. I haven't gotten that sick of it. I mean, Let It Go,
Right.
yeah. You hear it, you hear it to a point, and you're like, all right. Um, but I haven't heard it, particularly now that it's been a few years removed. I'm glad they took a little time to make this movie. They didn't rush a sequel out. They did all the movies that were in production. Obviously, a sequel was going to come, though. It was just a smash hit, global hit, and yeah. So I really like Frozen. I really like the original movie a lot. Your Frozen history.
Well, I thought it was good. So let's get into this movie.
Cool.
No,
I'm glad I just like blew
no,
smoke for.
I was blown away by the music in particular. Like I thought the movie
Yeah.
was great, but not outstanding. Just like as a movie itself, I was like, this is a great movie, but I mean the music pushes it to the next level, and that's something that like I continue to enjoy after the movie. Yeah. I
Oh yeah,
don't,
the minute I left the theater, I went to the nearest Target. I had to go shopping anyways,
uh
and I bought the soundtrack immediately.
Yeah.
I was like, this
I mean,
soundtrack is just
yeah, it's
so good. I mean, it's basically a Broadway musical that they made into a Disney movie, which they then made into a Broadway musical. So there you go.
yeah.
The songwriters have history on Broadway. They did Avenue Q, which is not for kids. Do you know Avenue Q?
No.
It's basically adult Sesame Street.
Oh, okay.
Songs such as "Everyone's a Little Bit Racist," "The Internet is for Porn," and so on and so forth.
Oh,
It's
cool.
very funny. It's also not for children.
All right. All right. So going into Frozen 2,
hmm
I heard like when I heard it was coming out, I was kind of disappointed. I felt like Frozen should have been a standalone. I feel like it was a special thing by itself, and one that should have kind of remained untouched. And an interesting thing that was pointed out to me that I didn't really even think about until now was that, oh, this is like a Disney princess movie that got a sequel, which is not
Yeah.
the thing to do other than direct to VHS ones in the past. Like that's never really a thing that happened. So it's
The
like
first time it's happened, yeah.
so it's like, yeah, I know Frozen was a phenomenon, but I didn't really think it was necessary. There was nowhere else they really needed to go. So what did you think? Were you excited for a sequel?
Um, Marginally. I kind of am with you. I feel the pull of the traditionalist, where you should have a standalone film. You don't need a sequel for everything. Little nods to it here and there, like they had Frozen Fever, and then there was like Olaf's Frozen Adventure or something like that. So they did like Frozen material and like little shorts, and those were great. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, of course they're gonna make a sequel. It was very popular, but I was just kind of like, I didn't know exactly where it was gonna go. And the trailers that I saw, I think I only saw one, maybe two. They didn't really give very much away, so I was kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm up for seeing where this is going. It looks like they're going to a different sort of location, a more colorful location. So I'm down for that. So I didn't really know exactly what to expect going into the movie. Do you want to do you want me to delve into kind of general thoughts before we move into spoilers?
Yeah, sure.
I really enjoyed this movie a lot more than I think I may have even given credit that I was going to enjoy. A lot of choices that felt like natural for a sequel. I guess maybe to an extent where it like I don't want to say it felt predictable, because I was satisfied by it. So I didn't feel it was predictable, but to me it ended up going in directions that felt more satisfying than where we ended up in the original Frozen. And that was what I was surprised by, how much I liked that. I think they explored different themes and ideas in this one. It wasn't just rehashing the same. That can be something particularly in the Disney sequels, which I've watched very few of, because the ones I've watched are so bad you don't want to watch anymore. But a lot of times they just kind of double down on the themes and they don't really say anything new or interesting. I think this one had different, more grown-up feeling plot lines than the first one did. Not saying that the first one didn't have themes that could reach an older audience, because obviously it did. We went and saw this movie.
Yeah.
We're 20-something men. So obviously there was something in the original Frozen that spoke to us enough for us to want to go see a sequel, even if only marginally. And yeah, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie and how much I think it rivals its predecessor in my mind.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So so how about you? How about you?
I thought it was just okay.
Okay.
Honestly, I was like, it pains me to say it because after I watched it, I went and like watched interviews and stuff, and the cast is like really passionate about it, and then they talked about like some of the writing process they did and how like purposeful and how careful they handled the story and everything. But I just after seeing it, I was not really a fan of the plot. Just kind
Well,
of
you said you didn't even really like the plot of the first one.
no, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I just didn't think it was the best thing ever. I just
Oh
thought
no. Well,
the music was what elevated it the most for me originally. But this one, I just didn't. I don't know. There was something about the plot. I didn't feel like it was as strong as the first one in terms of like. I wasn't a huge fan of the whole spirit thing. It felt kind of like a watered down Avatar in a way, The Last Airbender.
well, that was what I was worried that would happen, and I don't think that did really happen.
Okay.
I was incredibly when they brought that up. So we're still trying to stay as general as we can, but when they brought up the idea of elements, which they have shown in the trailer, when they brought that idea up, I was very frightened that it would go in a direction where I was like, oh no, don't tell me that this is going to turn into Elsa's like the Avatar or something like that. And it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that, and it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that, and I'm very happy about it that it doesn't do that. So, shall we get into spoilers now?
Yeah.
So now we can spoil it. So if you haven't seen this movie, skip to the end. You'll see our grades. But now we're gonna delve full spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled by this movie, do not watch any further. Skip to the timestamp. Yada yada yada.
Okay, please tell me what's so good about this plot, because I'm like,
I'm lost. Man.
I felt like there was no. So I'm watching Elsa follow this voice the whole time, and then when she gets in there, she starts like just dying. She's like dying before going too far. What is this arbitrary value of too far? And then, of course, her going too far and initiating her death frozen sequence triggers a message to go back to Anna, which tells her that okay, your sister's dying because she went too far into the past. And then Olaf is dying. I knew as soon as he was dying, I'm like, he's just gonna come back. So I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know that as seasoned filmgoers.
Well,
but I can tell you that I heard small children behind me that were not very happy in the audience, and I was like, and particularly since it lingers on that idea for a long time, and I think that that's incredibly effective. Like, we have a whole song where Anna is basically like, there's no hope, but I have to still keep going anyways. And I was like, oh my goodness.
I was like, I was into the depression song.
That's like, that song is so effective.
Like, I'm about to succumb to the darkness. I'm about to just, like, give up on life right now.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, this is pretty dark for a kid's movie.
But
it was also like,
why does Elsa get punished for going too far, and why is it too far, and why does she like start dying for it?
Because that's what the poem says, man.
That's what the poem says.
That's what the poem says. Well, no, it's because it's like any fairy tale. There's a consequence for trying to see too much, or tempting fate too much. It's like if you try to, there are some things, deep secrets that you're not intended to see.
She didn't.
And
know
she
what
wasn't
she was
intended to. Yes, she did.
She heard voice.
But she remembered that. She even talked about that saying ahead of time, and you see her hesitate, but she jumps in anyways because she's like, well, maybe I'll just go in for a quick frostbite.
But no,
I knew when she did that, and she was sealing her fate. Yeah, no, I knew when she was going in. I was like, something bad's gonna happen when she goes down in there. She's either gonna see something. She's either gonna see something real bad, or she's gonna get frozen again, and like Anna did, or both.
And tell me, why does she have to be a spirit?
Tell me why.
Why is she the fifth spirit? So
why is she the? What do you mean why? The whole movie's about why.
Yeah, why
What do you
is
mean
that a thing?
why?
Yeah, because we have Earth. Well, we have Earth, water, wind,
Yeah,
fire. Elsa.
yeah.
I just don't understand. It's
She,
like
I mean, okay, I guess she kind of is the Avatar, but
that's the
I was
Avatar.
expect,
Yeah.
but no, 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 hold on. I was expecting it to be way stupider than that. I almost thought like, oh, now she's gonna like literally be the Avatar and like have all of the elements as well as ice or something. Like that's what I was afraid of it going to.
She is the bridge. They said she's the bridge
Yeah,
between the
yeah,
worlds,
and that's
and
fine.
the elements
Yeah,
or the
that's fine.
spirits. That's literally the Avatar
Right.
in
Okay.
like
But I mean, well,
sped up.
I was expecting it or scared that it would be dumber than that. I ended up being pretty satisfied in where it ended up. I was expecting to be way dumber than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, okay. Here's the thing. Elsa is the only person in this world of Frozen, this Swedish Wonderland. It's the Scandinavian snowscape place. It's not really always a snowscape. There's different seasons, but she's the only person who's like that in this whole
Yeah.
area.
Is
I
it?
can if you're the first movie ends fine because she understands that family is what's important. Her love of her with her sister, that's what will ultimately keep the heart from freezing, so to say. That'll keep things warm between each other. But it's not really a satisfying ending for her as a character. Not really. I mean, ultimately, it's like, okay, but she's still this magic queen with a bunch of nobodies,
Yeah.
in the sense that like no one else is magical. She doesn't have anyone she can really relate to, other than her close family. Parents are still dead, so there's still unresolved tension there. I'm glad they really delved into a lot of that stuff. That was really effective. Both of them dealing with the loss of their
At
parents.
least they have their parents. Their parents are dead.
What? Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Olaf.
I think this is a more interesting angle and a more satisfying ending for both sisters. I think.
Okay.
Because like instead of like, and then Elsa just rules as queen forever, and Anna's just second fiddle, but at least she is a man, so there's that.
But she.
Um,
Yeah.
and like, and I don't mean to take away the ending of the first movie as saying it's not good because I think it's great. But I think now that we've seen a second movie, I think this concludes with the characters being in a far more satisfying, a more meaningful place for both of them than had we not had a sequel. And we'd be fine without a sequel. I like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Was this really the most necessary movie ever? Not really. Is it going to make Disney billions of dollars? Probably. I enjoyed this movie, and I think I will. I mean, I do kind of agree with you that the plot feels like there's a couple times where it sort of feels like it's kind of meandering a little bit, but whenever Elsa gets drawn to the voice again, I think that's when it starts picking up again. It's like her being drawn to this voice is, to me, such an interesting hook for a movie, particularly because it's like she already has this sense that she's part of this bigger thing. She has these powers. She's blessed by something, by someone, somehow. And this is like her journey of discovery as to where this came from, more or less. You make it. I don't know. The way you sort of criticize it made it sound like, well, why? Why does she have to be that way? But it's like the whole idea is that it's a blessing from. It's more or less like a blessing from the spirits because their mother and father, one who has in touch with nature. They can't control the natural magics of the world, but they can. They're in tune with it, and someone who is not. The two people who are opposed to each other, two enemies, come together. The spirits essentially bless that. That's such an old sounding like old myth kind of sort of story is like that's the genesis of a miracle child. That's the genesis of someone who has a special gift in a fantasy realm. And I like the fact that they explored why that happened, and explored her a little bit more as a character rather than just rather than just her inner conflict. It was more about her conflicts resolved, but there's still a yearning for something more. Yeah, I don't know. I found it particularly satisfying.
Okay. Well,
But I can understand. The way you've explained it, I can understand why you might not necessarily be satisfied with
and
the
it is.
plot.
I found it was a little weird. There was no central opposing force in this movie either. And, like, it doesn't have to be a villain necessarily, but it was almost like it was just her. The entire thing was her following this voice, and there was nothing
Yeah.
opposing her. And then
I
only
I
at
mean,
the end, it was like a catch-22. It's like, oh, you went too far, and then it just didn't feel as satisfying as a plot.
it's kind of a man against nature. Nature is the villain in this movie. It's not necessarily a right, because it's supposed to be the spirits more or less. I don't want to say they rebelled, but they basically made it so that, well, no one can really have benefit. No one's going to enjoy the. Well, we're going to curse the forest, basically. Everyone's going to be who's left here is trapped here for all time, and no one will be granted access to it. It's out of bounds.
Right.
You guys broke your bond that you were going to make. So it's the villain is man against nature, but it's also man against the past. I think dealing with the problems and coming to terms with the past. That's one thing that I wish the movie had done a little bit more and a little bit better, is delving with the fact that, yeah, your grandfather was kind of the reason that this whole thing happened. That all these characters are in this predicament now. I mean, ultimately, why their mother and father are dead, and all kinds of different things. So if you want to, like, really come down to it, that's kind of why. Because then they wouldn't have had to stay away, and they wouldn't have had to because if the natural world was all still fine and dandy, if magic was still all cool and all the elements were all jiving with everybody, then I mean they wouldn't have a need to hide Elsa, because she's a gift for the world, more or less.
So yeah, I don't want to be overly negative about this movie. I just want to get the last couple of points of criticism out there. So
Okay, fair
what
enough.
makes the I felt like the forest as being the central thing that, like, they're trying to kind of like free the forest. That felt like it didn't have as much weight because we had these characters that we knew for a couple minutes that just felt like they were thrown in there just so you could have like some sort of stake in it, because they're like, oh well, we have no reason to really care about this forest because we're introduced to it, so let's introduce these characters. I forget what that woman's name was. It was like a weird,
The older woman and
the younger woman, whatever, she had a weird name.
Oh, I'd say I don't even honeydew.
Honey clump, something.
Honey Clover. Honey Clover was the younger woman who got probably like no, she probably got 4 lines in the whole movie.
And then you had
She was
Ryder.
basically nobody.
You had Ryder, who of course is helping Kristoff in his essential marriage proposal.
Oh yeah,
plot
he also
line.
gets like 3 lines in the whole movie. Yeah.
Yeah, but and then you have the older woman, and these are the ones that we're caring about in this
Yeah,
forest.
I like the older man and the older woman. Sterling K. Brown is just what I'm gonna call him because I don't remember his name, and it's just
With the lieutenant guy,
yeah.
I love that.
I like him a lot.
He's my favorite.
See,
He's
and
my
that's the
favorite
thing.
part of the movie.
Yeah, he's the guy you care about, and I think the elderly woman you kind of sort of care about her a little bit.
I mean, a little bit, but I only like the lieutenant because he's like he's got great comedic timing, and he's a great personality. But it's like we knew these characters for a couple minutes, and it's like this is the big thing we're trying to save. And then I did feel like after watching the first Frozen, I never thought like, wow, I need to see Kristoff planning his marriage proposal to Anna. I can't wait to see this unfold and how stressed out he's gonna be about getting this marriage proposal.
That was like the best part of the movie.
Best part of the movie. What, the proposal itself, or all the trials and tribulations?
No, the song.
Oh well, the song. I love the song. Yeah.
That song I had this expression on my face the entire time that song was going on. I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. It's a 90s pop song, like straight up just a 90s pop song and a 90s pop song music video
No,
animated.
yeah, I love the song.
And it was great.
Yeah,
I loved every second of that. That was hysterical.
but that's a separate
Um,
separate entity from the plot. The music
yeah.
is a whole.
Well,
other
I mean,
thing
okay,
altogether.
but Kristoff to me is like one of the most relatable, like,
It's because he's the guy there. You can't relate to the
sure.
others.
I mean, yeah, but he's also like, I don't know, he's just like down to earth and
Right.
kind of a doofus, but also like knows what's up. I like him a lot. He was great. I mean, yeah. When I saw Frozen, I wasn't thinking, man, Frozen 2 better have the proposal, nerves trying to. But
I can't wait to see that develop. But I mean, it just felt like that's kind of what Kristoff was reduced to in this movie. It was just like his side gag, like, let's cut back to Kristoff trying to figure out this proposal and get it right. But he's not going to get it right until the very end. He's going to keep messing it up.
I mean, I didn't necessarily know that, but sure.
Well, I mean, after the first couple times messing up, I was like, okay, he's not going to get this down until like a climax of the movie. It'll be great.
But he's a Disney prince who's not, if you want to be all modern and politically correct about it, he's a Disney prince who doesn't save the woman, and she Anna don't need no saving, and
okay,
Kristoff doesn't need to save her. He just helps her, and isn't that just sweet?
Well, but so
honestly,
do
I
you not
actually
believe
felt
that, or
No, I do. I'm just framing it in a humorous way. I actually do really like that.
He's not a toxic masculinity kind of prince.
Yeah, he's
not afraid to go into the '80s rock.
Except like
song.
Yeah, except like none of the Disney princes are like toxic masculinity.
That's true. Well, yeah.
At all. Like I mean like Gaston is the humorous is like toxic masculinity, like just the character. I mean, and that's the whole point. He's a send up of like what Disney princes like actually would have been like, rather than, because they're all basically, all the older ones are more or less blank slates.
yeah.
The most interesting Disney prince is Philip, because he kills the dragon, and he's like, he's a big hero. But all the other ones are like, I am man, handsome man.
Yes, pretty boy
in your life now. I'm pretty man in your life, and that's basically the whole character. So
yeah. So yeah, I'll give Kristoff credit for that. Sven was more present in this movie. Had a little bit of a singing part.
He randomly sang that one time, like it was kind of like, are we seeing inside? Yeah, that was basically like, I guess we're seeing inside of Kristoff's mind now, and then we really did see inside Kristoff's mind, which is a '90s pop song music video, and it was great.
And I thought Olaf had some great moments. But
Olaf retelling the first Frozen was like was great.
Yeah.
Like legitimate laughs,
Yeah, that was great. I do feel like most of the movie maybe was like a couple notches too much, like overboard Olaf.
Mm-hmm. That cute new lizard though, that cute fire lizard.
Yes, of course, the fire spirit lizard.
Oh,
my favorite Frozen character.
I just wanted to hug him. He's just a little boy. He's like a little Pokemon.
Yes,
I wanted him.
My favorite character is the Earth giant rock monsters.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're my favorite.
Yeah, it's the best character in the movie.
Also, Gale. Classic Gale.
Classic Frozen character, Gale. I was gonna say classic Frozen character. I almost started laughing near the end of the movie, because when they when they're like are revealing the statue of their parents, and I was like, in my head I imagined they made a statue of their grandfather.
What?
I don't know why, but in my mind I was like, that would be really funny if they bring it down and it's like, and there's our grandfather who tried to slay all the people in touch with nature. I just said
stab
something
that,
like really humorous about that. Yeah, kill that guy.
Stab that
senseless
dude
guy.
in the back like a real
While he's
villain.
drinking tea.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking about the fact like all these people are clapping and it's like they. I just imagine they told them no context and it's just like boy and girl statue.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
it's
context. There was no like ceremony or like, and this
like
is
what
the
is
unveiling of this is happening day. They just like all gathered here, like, oh, the Queen's
So-
gathering us here.
this? Well, yeah, it's a boy and a girl. So the music overall,
Yeah, music overall.
I would say not definitely. I mean, Frozen is like an amazing gem of music. I feel like it's not at that level, but there's still some great songs in here.
I think I'm more complicated on Frozen now, the soundtrack now.
Okay.
I still think it's a great soundtrack, the original. I still think it's a great soundtrack. I think reanalysis of older Disney films, especially like Tangled, beat for beat, they go head to head because I think Tangled has what's that one song in the like the bar that they're singing, like the guys all sing or whatever. I don't like that song at all. I think that song's awful. But then I also think Fixer Upper is I don't
She's
like
a bit
it.
of a fixer-upper.
I
That's
don't
a
like that
minor
song.
thing.
And that's the song.
Their
and that's
quote
the song-
engagement is a flex arrangement. And by the way, I don't see no
I don't
ring.
see no ring. Yeah. I mean it's fun,
Who
but I
knew
also
that?
don't. But I also don't really like it that much.
Also, they really just put in a rock. What are they? The rock trolls. They just put them in there as a nice cameo. It's like you watch after Arendelle. We're gonna be away. Like, all right,
Yeah.
got it.
All
We're the rock
right,
trolls
boys.
from the first movie.
Bye, boys. Yeah. So yeah, it's gone. I don't want to say it's like
Going
it's not as good now, but like it's sort of like my love for the original Frozen soundtrack has kind of like decreased a little bit over time, and I think this one rivals it. And one of the reasons why I thought the soundtrack was so great, one of the reasons that I enjoyed it as much as I did, has almost nothing to do with the movie itself. It has more to do with the fact that, despite the fact that a couple of songs have the potential to be like the showstopper,
Mm-hmm.
there's no Let It Go showstopper in this movie.
There's clearly
And
one
I
that
actually-
they want to be a Let It Go, though.
There is, but it's not. And I actually really like that. I felt like you might disagree, and I mean Disney themselves might disagree.
I will disagree.
They might be trying to make
already.
it okay. They might be trying to make that the Let It Go, but I don't think I didn't take it as them trying to compete, because you can't compete with that soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
I take it as, okay, we can't beat Let It Go. We'll have a song similar to it. We'll have songs similar to it. There's another song that was kind of like had the same kind of a jive to that. Had the potential to be like a show-stopping tune, but nothing tries to be that. And I think because of that, we're not going to see the level of saturation that Let It Go had with any of the songs in this movie. And that is okay with me, because to me that's just going to make the soundtrack more enjoyable over time. I think
for sure.
that almost had nothing to do with the movie itself. That was just something that I thought about while I was watching it, and that was something that made me just appreciate all the songs that much more. Honestly,
Do you have a particular favorite song that stands out to you?
I don't remember all the song names. Favorite song is Kristoff. Oh, I mean that was just
You like that? Yeah. That was one
I
of the best.
like. It's not only was it funny, like the whole sequence was just hysterical. Like I loved it, and I almost couldn't believe they were doing it. The song itself was actually really good.
Yeah.
So,
And like I was trying to on my way to and from work, 'cause I didn't have any other time today. I was trying to listen to more of the soundtrack to get my memory jogged. But I didn't get through all of them. I would have liked to be able to listen to it more, to be more familiar with it. But I remember that one being great. And
Into the Unknown is a good song too. I really like it.
I'm kind of partial to Into the Unknown, as basic as that is, because that's the one they wanted you to like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reprise of that.
Yeah.
So
Yes, and there's
It's
also a Panic at
a
the
good song.
Disco cover of Into the Unknown.
and then Weezer covers Kristoff's song.
Oh,
I was so confused. Yeah, in the credits, I was so confused. I was like, okay, so we got like Panic at the Disco and Weezer. I was like,
I thought Panic at the Disco was great. I don't think I stayed for the Weezer.
for the Weezer. Yeah, I thought it was just weird. I was like, did I I don't know. It was funny to me because it was like not the band, not the groups I would have expected to be singing those songs. Like
Yeah.
I think the first movie had what was her name that covered Let It Go in the first soundtrack? It's her version of it.
Demi
Um,
Lovato.
Demi Lovato. Yeah. Like I expected like a Disney Channel type of person, but no, instead
Right.
we got Weezer, a band from the '90s that like just kind of recently came back into the public eye. They covered something like really popular. Did they cover Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that?
Oh.
I don't know if it was Bohemian Rhapsody. They covered something. I don't know. They covered something. And it was, everyone's like, it's Weezer, and I was like,
Weezer.
yeah, it's Weezer. Okay, I like Weezer, but
Weezer as fuck.
it was
Um,
strange. That was an I don't want to say I didn't like it because I did, but I thought it was weird. The fact that it was like Panic at the Disco and Weezer are covering the Disney songs at the end of the movie.
yeah. But I do think the whole cast of Frozen did a great job with their
Mm,
not only their voices but the songs. They're all great. Like Kristoff never got a song in the first one, so it was cool. He did a great job in this one.
right?
And then obviously Anna and Adele Dazeem did a great Into the Unknown. Um,
Well, no, Christoph's got reindeer a bit better than people in the first.
Reindeer are better than people. Sven,
And don't
does
you
he
think
think
that's
that's right?
right?
Oh God! All right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess, but this is the first real cover or
yeah.
song. I mean,
First real song he got. Yeah, he got a good one. He got his own song.
yeah. And I mean, I really like just from the interviews I watched. They all seem like a great, fun cast too. They all really enjoy it
Oh yeah, for sure.
and they're into it. What like because the thing I was blown away by was Kristen Bell, who plays Anna. She was
Hmm.
talking about how the writer was like leading up to the movie and all this time that they've been working on it. She would like journal from the perspective of Elsa like every day, like what Elsa's doing to like get into the mind of the character. She would actually like journal every day. What would Elsa be doing right now and talking about? And like, oh,
That's
that's
kind of
hardcore.
that's cool. That's actually an interesting way to write. Get in the head of your character, like on a minute to minute basis. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So I was like, wow, I didn't think there was that much care put into it, you know? But,
Particularly when I saw it,
I
I
thought
didn't
it was
think that
awful.
there was.
I was like, damn, they really sold out on this one. But that's what I really appreciated about it. Because it was like the
Yeah,
concept of like Frozen 2, just thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's a money grab for sure. And like you'd think the cast is just like, all right, well, more money, let's get on board. But they're all like, no, they took the writers took their time and didn't rush into it. And it's like even when people were like, you got to make a sequel, they were like, no, we're not ready yet. We don't know what we want to do. We want to find what's right for the characters, and it was cool.
so is there going to be a Frozen 3?
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting at least 6 Frozen movies for
Frozen
sure.
6? The
Frozen,
undiscovered country?
and Elsa will have a great ballad in that one. It'll be great.
She'll fight against an old Klingon while they're trying to form a union during the Space Cold War,
Kitty
and
hot.
and then there'll be a really great scene where they're hidden, and they'll see, I can see you, Kirk. Can you see me? Sorry, I'm delving back into Star Trek. It's very late,
Sure.
and I like that movie a lot. Anyway,
Right. So
I think that's pretty much it. So what would you rate this movie?
I mean, I'll say my opinion has gone up in this discussion. I'm always up
Okay.
to being enlightened,
Okay.
but it's still not gonna be that high. I have to think about. It's better than Detective Pikachu.
What?
It's
Those are like completely different movies. How do you compare them?
better than Detective Pikachu, so I can't rate it lower than Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I guess it was, but
Is it
I don't even
better?
remember what I gave.
Is it
Detective
better than A
Pikachu.
New Hope though? I don't think so. I will give it.
oh no, you're letting everyone know that our rating system doesn't matter that much
Shoot.
between
Oh,
movies.
it does. I directly compare
I mean, it
everything.
kind of.
Is
Maybe
it
you do.
better
I
than the
don't.
Starbomb album? Yes. I'm really torn, but I'm between two scores.
I'll throw one out there
Oh,
for you. I'll throw one out there for you. I'll give it an 8.5.
8.5. That's so expected.
Really? Oh, okay. I mean, it's not a perfect movie. I'm still debating in my mind whether or not I like it as much as the original Frozen. The 8.5 would indicate that I don't. I'd give Frozen like a 9 or a 9.5. I think there's. I mean, this obviously, like a lot of sequels, was this really needed? Not really. But did I enjoy myself? Absolutely. And did I think it was I entertained? Yes. Did I have a good time? Yes. Did I think the movie production values and everything else was great? Absolutely. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's not really that much holding me back from it, other than the fact that, I mean, kind of like you've said, it's, the lack of a central villain is a little bit of a weakness. I think there's more to it than that. I like the fact that there's not really like a Hans twist, because like that was a cool
Yeah.
twist. I like the fact the movie did that. I'm glad they didn't try to do anything like that again. They went in a completely different route with it, where the
Mm,
conflict was more of interpersonal, intercharacters, and stuff like that. So, I'm trying to stay vague about it because this is ratings. So, but I really liked it, and yeah, I enjoyed myself.
I will give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
And, um, my opinion has gone up on the movie. And this time we discussed it.
What was
But
it going to be? A 7 or a
it was
six
gonna
point
be
five or
it was gonna
something?
be a 4.5 initially.
Oh no.
No, it was gonna be a 7. Is what I was at.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's like, okay, I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be on the wrong side of history here. But but no, I still don't. I'm not a huge fan of the plot. It wasn't that engaging to me, and I really didn't like how they were gonna play charades again, even though clearly Elsa did not enjoy it the first time. But she's like, "Oh, come on, Friday night, we got charades again." Didn't like
Well,
that.
she didn't like it. It
She
was
was
just
not
that
into it.
she was distracted
No, that's
by
how
the
she was
voice.
every night. Every charades night, I'm sure that's how she acted. She was like, well,
I mean,
here's a
or
dragon.
or she was just
Oh,
distracted by the voice,
yeah,
which is the whole point.
yeah,
Which is
well,
apparently a digital voice. That wasn't a real. That's not
oh,
a real.
I don't like that.
I said the voice was Aurora,
Yeah,
which is a digital voice.
that's what that is. Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what Aurora is. I saw Aurora, but I was like, oh,
Now, here was a big opportunity for Disney to have Miku in this movie, and they didn't do it. They could have had a darling Vocaloid in
mm.
this movie, and they decided not to. And they said with some other synthetic voice. How
Yeah,
dare they?
Aurora.
How dare they?
Because like I saw it in the music videos, like on YouTube. It was like Idina Menzel, Aurora. I'm like, what the hell is Aurora? She did the I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a digital voice. Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
If I see Frozen again, I will riot. If there's a Frozen 3, I will not be
There
as
really
proud.
doesn't need to be. I think this is it's a very satisfying conclusion to the character's story arc. The first one was too. This one, I think, even more so. Leave it alone.
Well, you're just gonna say
Leave it
that
alone.
once Frozen 3
No, no, no,
comes
no.
out again, you'll be
No, I
like,
don't
"Oh,
think
this
I
one's an
will.
even better ending."
I don't think I will. I think this to me is like, okay, leave it alone. You're fine. Lightning
Well,
didn't quite strike twice, but it almost did. It was like really close to the same spot. So that's fine. Leave it at that. You don't need to.
Toy Story 4 never should have happened, and you really enjoyed Toy Story 4, so
I did.
You're-
I did. You're
I'm ready
right.
for Frozen 3 to come out, and you're gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10.
I mean, if they do something like really crazy with it, like that, I don't know, like
Where do
also
you go
battling
though?
God, I don't know.
Well, the next,
They get really obscure with it or something. I don't know.
the next movie is gonna be
Um,
Kristoff and Anna talking about should we have a child? I don't know. I think I should tell Anna I want a child. I want to have a kid.
See the Frozen wedding would be like a really good short.
The Frozen wedding.
Like a Frozen wedding.
The
That would be
Frozen
fun.
divorce.
Yeah, that's what the third one's about. The third one's about like
Ah.
Kristoff getting all the townspeople to riot or
And then
something. I don't
and he follows a voice, and then she's like, "Yeah, I can't deal with you following this voice. Got a divorce," and then he dies. And thank you.
All right, well that's it. So,
Wait, so that's an 8 out of 10. Didn't even say 8.5,
yeah,
7.5, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. So
It's right
go
up there
see
with
it.
Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. It's on par.
I would say go see it. I think it's worth a watch. If you really like the first Frozen, I'd obviously see it. If you here's the thing, yeah, if you weren't overly crazy about the original Frozen, or if you actually, if the original Frozen was a movie that you really liked and you kind of soured on it over time for whatever reason, I think you actually might like this movie. If you didn't like the original Frozen when you first saw it, you won't get anything out of this movie.
Sure.
And if you love Frozen, you still love it, yeah, go see it. I mean, why? What are you doing in your life?
And if you want to see how Kristoff and Anna's relationship pans out, you're dying to see more, you have to see this movie.
You have to see.
You have to see it. It's to die for. All right.
It's great. It's great. It's great.
Thank you.
It's gonna be great.
Yes. Thanks.
So long.
All right.